Panic and confusion ended what was a day of love and unity at the Capitol Pride Parade. Good evening. I'm Delia Gonzalez. The celebration was cut short this evening after someone yelled into the crowd that there was a gun. That sent people running from DuPont Circle, and many took to Twitter claiming they heard gunshots. However, police tell us there were no shots fired and no threats made. They did discover a gun near a man who was arrested and is now charged with possession. Investigators will be reviewing surveillance video from the scene and are asking witnesses tonight who believe they heard loud sounds to come forward. Several people suffered minor injuries during the hysteria when the crowd began to scatter from that parade route. 7 people were taken to the hospital. So we wanted to know, how did all this happen? What about security measures? Well, police tell us tonight there are no security checkpoints at the parade, but they feel like they do have enough police officers on the ground. They consider this an isolated incident, but will look at ways to improve security.